Well, I fixed it. I fixed it. How's it going? The old guy, Timmy Joe, making videos about Alienware computers all up on the internet, and there was such a, there's a lot of views on the last Alienware Aurora R4 4930K system with a R9 290 that was overheating in it. Plenty of views on that, so I thought I'd do a little follow-up on this guy, because I fixed it. Like 100%. Sorta. So, I wanted to fix it in that video. I was having all kinds of trouble. I was trying to just essentially make the cooling solution on that card better. It is a blower, and right now there's a 6700 XT in this system because I just want, just for the hell of it, I have some Time Spy and some 3D Mark kind of versus on a 5800X Ryzen system versus the 4930K at 4.2 gigahertz that I've overclocked it. Actually, I'll talk about that in a second. In this thing, so just a little, how far could you upgrade this, I guess, is what I'm gonna get at with its 6-core processor. We're also running Cinebench single-threaded, and then we're run multi-threaded. Got some other kind of comparisons and stuff like that, but how did I fix this if I didn't really do anything to it physically? I could plop it right back in there, and as long as a few things are kosher in the operating system, it will game at 1080p indefinitely. It will pass the stress test, and it does it without being too loud, which is very, very nice. Well, I knew that there was a lot of Hawaii BIOS editing at the time, and there was a Hawaii BIOS editor. So you can actually take the BIOS on this and make changes to it. And what was its problem? Well, it was overvolting itself and it was making itself too hot by doing so. And the fan profile on it, even if it was good, maybe it wouldn't have been good for the volts that was going through this thing, but you know, it's terrible. It never even got to like, maybe the max like 2000 RPM was all in the name of trying to make this thing not sound like a jet engine. It has to sound like a little bit of a jet engine to work properly, unfortunately, but I've made it so with the millivolts being reduced and a little bit of fan profile, yeah, it's going, you know, but if you had this pointed at the back or maybe on the floor or something like that, you probably wouldn't hear it too much, and it's totally fine. I played lots of video games on this thing with this card in there, and it's stable as a cucumber. If that's a thing. So I went into the Fiji BIOS editor, loaded up the BIOS from this. Obviously it's got 2 BIOS switches just in case I screwed one up. I had, you know, I could put it back. And I used it to reduce I made it basically so it was in like the next power stage down voltage wise for you know, the all that 1000 megahertz this thing's supposed to be producing, and in doing so it dramatically decreased the temperatures. However, using that Hawaii BIOS editor, you're supposed to be able to change the fan profile in there. No matter what I did, the fan profile would not change on this card, no matter what I did in the BIOS editor. So I was hoping for like just a turnkey solution. I put a new BIOS on here, and you know, in any computer it would ramp the fan up and it would have less millivolts and it would be a working card. Fortunately, MSI Afterburner comes to the rescue, and I created a custom fan profile in there that totally works with this thing. So in combination of 50 less millivolts at stock, which it seems to be 1000% stable at. I've run several stress tests. I've gamed with it for over an hour, and as long as this thing's staying under 85 degrees, which my new fan profile allows for, the card is fixed. So I might put this back in here and try and sell it as kind of an as-is unit. Like if within a month, if this thing dies, I'll maybe find you a graphics card, and I'll, you know, obviously a little bit reduced price for this computer, but it's worth more than the $300 plus hard drives I have into it, right? So it's pretty cool. So we get 148 in Cinebench, which isn't as bad as I was thinking. I think in Cinebench R15, modern processors are getting like near 215, something like that. So it's not as far off as I thought. But here we'll run this. Keep in mind, like a Ryzen 1600 will do maybe 1200 stock in Cinebench. And this is a 4830K. It does under 1000 in Cinebench if you let it run stock at its like 3.6 gigahertz. You can overclock, however, which I have done, which is the most terrible overclocking experience I've ever experienced. The BIOS in this is obviously, it's not a UEFI. You know, you're doing like you know, DOS editing like an older BIOS, and all you can do is change the turbo frequency multiplier on all of the core. Like I thought I could just blanket change the multiplier. No, so it gets 1059 in Cinebench. So maybe I'm going a little bit too far with the 1600. A 2600 will definitely do like 1300-ish. So maybe like a 1600X or something like that. We're talking over this. So this older processor, like it's almost worse than first gen Ryzen. So putting a really high-end graphics card in this is not a thing. So we have it all done, said and done. Here, I'll just, since we know the Cinebench now, like, that's not very great. But the system runs nice, it runs cool, it runs collected now that I've addressed some of the issues. Issues a proper BIOS from the manufacturer could have solved. But let's talk about putting a higher-end graphics card in this thing and maybe compare it to what this thing's getting as we switch things back out. So this thing in TimeSpy got a 4003. That's pretty bad considering, well, a good CPU, a 5800X, and this 6700 XT will get almost 12,000, 11,922. So pretty damn slow. This card is. But I was playing some Fortnite with it, and heck, at 1080p, if you want to reduce some settings, you can play high refresh rate with this. I also have a high refresh rate 1080p monitor here, and if I went epic view distance and like medium, low, I was getting 120 frames a second, because that's all this HDMI output will do, which is not bad. Not bad at all. All right, she's back in there now. And the Fire Strike is 11,096. Turn it on, hear that lovely Alienware purr. But playing Fortnite, I could get half decent performance on this. If you set everything to epic at 1080p, it was still almost hitting 60 frames a second. I was playing a match and it wasn't too bad. So this computer can still game even with the 290X in it. But what happens when you put a 6700X in it? Well, if you want to talk, just I didn't like do a whole range of benchmarks for a Fallout video like this. I didn't really think it was worth it. But if you want to go for my 5800X, brand new Ryzen Silicon paired with this, you know, brother here, I got almost 12,000 in TimeSpy when we get 10,222 in TimeSpy with this 4920X at 4.2 gigahertz. But it's the CPU score that's halved. It goes from like 11,252 to 5,750. And then Fire Strike's even worse. It goes from 31,873 to 22,271. And the CPU, again, pretty much halved from around 30,000 to around 15,000. So, yeah, really limiting your performance to use an Ivy Bridge high-end desktop part these days, unless you're really overclocking, you know, like to near 5 gigahertz. I don't even think they go past like maybe 4.6 gigahertz or something like that. So we've even sort of close to max this out. This has got 12 threads on it, so it shouldn't be too bad a computer. But when it's all said and done, here, what I'll do is I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna open up the stress test, just so you can hear what our end acoustics are for my fixed system here. And then I'm gonna go ahead and put it on the market with a disclaimer that the graphics card has seen better days and it needs someone with some knowledge to keep MSI Afterburner open. But you see, if I open this up and I click my first profile and then I click this little guy right here, there we go. It shows that now I'm using MSI Afterburner's custom fan profile, and I have it set up so that you know, if it gets close to 70 degrees, we're at near 50% fan speed, which is about 2,500 RPM, and that if it stays there, it's fine. So I'll go ahead and I'll run the stress test one more time and give you some acoustics on what this thing sounds like at full load, and then I think I did a little good job here, so give me a second. Okay, so we've achieved saturation on this graphics card cooler. I think you can hear it, right? It's going, but it's not jet engine like, it's like pre-ignition. I think you could hear the construction across the street about as loud as what's going on with this computer. But we're at 79 degrees. It might float up to 82, 83 degrees, but the way the fan profile is set up, see, we're at near 3,000 RPM. it's audible enough, but I'm very happy that with a little bit of elbow grease, I got this thing running in its original configuration, and I put it through its paces. I used its original video card and a newer one to game on it. Oh, another little quirk I forgot to mention in the last video. This is the wireless antenna for it. It is hard-lined with security screws into a card that's in the back of the computer. When transporting this computer, I inevitably tripped over this wire 15,000 times and nearly dropped this 60-pound computer on my feet. It's got to be at least 50 pounds. I didn't weigh it, but why would you do this? Why wouldn't it have a connector in the back so you can unplug it, wrap it up, and put it inside the case or in your pocket so you can transport the damn thing properly? Why is it on there with security screws? It's on there with torque screws that have a little dimple in the middle. It took me a while to figure out how to get them out of there because I had to move some cards around in the back of this computer. So, yeah, 80 degrees, 3,000 RPM. I'm yelling a little bit over the blower, but it's not bad. I fixed the Dell Alienware piece of junk, and I don't think I had one person like come on the video and say like, dude, I love my Alienware. And as my friend Dawid always shows with these new pre-built PCs that he buys, he bought one of the new Auroras, and it's about as bad. It had a CPU cooler on it for an Athlon, and I think the graphics card was better, and like the airflow is a little bit better, but the case still looks like something out of, I don't know, it looks like a turret from Portal. Why? Just make a regular-ish computer that 5 years down the line is easily upgradable. And I mean, the thing still had a gray metal interior, not a painted interior. No computer has a gray interior unless it's an office PC or a server or something like that these days. Crazy stuff. So I'm at Watch Timmy Joe Instagram and Twitter. It's getting a little bit 3046, 81. It's getting a little bit louder, but it'll be fine. I've already ran through. I showed you on the screen. It passes the benchmarks, no problem. It's fun. Fix the Dell Alienware. I'm at Watch Timmy Joe Instagram, Twitter. Thanks for not watching my coverage of the 6700 XT yesterday, but I mean, you barely watched anyone else's content on it, so see you guys in another video. Alienware going up for sale. I'll let you know on YouTube how much I sell it for and how long it lasts. Maybe it comes back the next day and I have to buy someone a video card when you can't buy video cards. I guess I'll figure that out.